So then we are back with modern understandings of the time of the Second Tabernacle services, but refined in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end as per Yeshayahu the prophet. We find a layer of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read then Yeshayahu the 61st chapter, we understand then the Messiah was in a temple. Now he was reading only the first section of this prophecy. As he was then prior of starting the vengeance, he then halted his reading, and he did not read any further, because he was completing the spring feast at this point. Let's try then understand situations then regarding the trade of the end and the authority and what is coming very near. Let's then evaluate firstly, as far as the Messiah himself clearing an area is spoken of previously. Then the Messiah was speaking with his people, and at some point there was a conversation related with the rich person that was in torment, and then the unfortunate person that during the time of the earth was then in very bad shape. Then this very unfortunate person, died, and he was resting because he believed tabernacling. The other person, the rich person, didn't, had the cares of the world and the deceitful lusts, and then unfortunately ended up going down, straight down to the inferno. Then the conversation is then for then Lazarus to come up with a bit of water, then refresh his tongue. And then the Messiah was intervening, saying, this can't be done, because there is a huge chasm from your place to our place and vice versa. The Messiah knew what they were going through because he was there. It's the main reason why he was so precise in what he was saying. This then shows us the importance of the Messiah being down there and explaining when he came back. But let's try to understand as more we can understand, and then read as far as the Messiah himself instructing his people for his 1,000 years. We find him completing the spring feast, then chastising his people for not asking questions regarding the future yet. The people at the time should have taken the time and read then the prophecies related with him, and step by step formation until spring feast was completed. The Messiah was then tried and then placed on a pole. Then he spent 72 hours in the heart of the earth, or then inferno. His soul was tormented for 72 hours. Then he came from the dead. He had lots of knowledge and he came from there. But then he went on. Then he was starting then teaching his people for the coming of Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit, where then his people, his disciples, then would come and become part of the kingdom. For 1,000 years he was simply showing them those areas for his 1,000 years. It's very straightforward. Then there is another topic as far as understanding trade. Let's read then for Revelation, a section, chapter chapter 1:8. Then comes the 23rd verse. And the light of the lamp wilt never more shine in you, and the voice of the male and bride wilt never more be heard in you. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth. Let's try to understand what this means. The very ancient practices of trade, obviously coming from Ishmael, as far as back as during Ishmael's time. From then on, it was teaching. It was a gradual teaching in caravans and taking care of those provisions and giving them to other people. Some of them were sold. Those kinds of Eastern trade related with instructions. Very important. Then you find these also related with the 23rd chapter of Metichiahu. And 23rd and the crowning city whose merchants are chief, whose traders are waiting of the earth. So it's explaining the importance and the authority of these traders as we layer this section with then Revelation and then Metichiahu explaining sections of these prophecies. So then we can relate them and we can understand why then these Arabs at the moment are not having these layers yet properly set before them. Because they are coming from a background far away from these instructions. Though these are for them, you find very precisely the instructions, they are involved. They are for the very practical way, or Al-Shura, the Quran, the Holy Quran. But these manuals, they must intertwine. It requires a bit of patience, but it comes a lot of understanding from these. Next time I'm going to study even further these developments. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.